Thank you, Godfrey. Bringing innovation and modernization to the transportation industry, our next guest, John McPhee, owner and CEO of Ride Bahamas, is here to talk with us about his business journey. Good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning, Mark.
Thank you for joining us dead early. I don't know where you're at, but you're in the Bahamas, the sun is up, and it's another beautiful day in a beautiful country, right?
Yes, I'm actually right here in the Bahamas with you, Mark.
All right, perfect. So tell us, what inspired you to pursue modernization of the taxi and transport industry?
A good question. I get that a lot, Mark. For me, I think that if you understand our history and you look back at it, you realize that at every point and every turn in our history, there were people who had a simple and a fundamental commitment. I could pick 2 points. One, if we pick the January 12, 1958, or if we pick June 1st, 1942, which will 42 will be the Burma Road riot. They were determined to leave the place better than they met it. If you look at January 12, my forerunners in the transportation business, they had a commitment to leave the place better than they meet it. And so for me, when I joined the transportation industry and understanding that, I made a commitment that I would leave it better than I met it. And at the core of that is revolutionizing, because each of those points that I mentioned earlier were people trying to revolutionize the status quo. And so when I came in the transportation industry, I realized that it was actually ripe and poised for transformation, and I took it on.
Wow. So I can imagine that with any sort of change, no matter what industry you're in, that you can face some challenges and maybe a little bit of inertia along the way in terms of getting the culture to change. So what are some of the challenges you've encountered as you try to change the transportation industry?
As with every status quo, there's usually a culture that goes with it. And again, if we use the DNA of our forerunners, the status quo for the Burma Road riot was that they felt that the colonial people felt that Bahamians were just not equal. They didn't feel that we should get the same pay. You look at the 1958 general strike, there was also a status quo and a culture. I think our times is no different. We find ourselves in a space where there are too few people who understand that the status quo is our enemy. And we get what I call, we become comfortable. You use the word inertia, which is another huge thing, because the more you show people, sometimes it seems as if the less they are aware of how urgent the time is and how necessary it is to leave the status quo behind. So for me, what I found was a culture of comfortableness with the status quo. And a lot of times when you ask people to leave the status quo behind, it creates a certain level of discomfort. They have a certain level of distrust for what they don't know as opposed to what they know. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges we face nationwide, getting people to move from their comfort zone into the unknown.
Wow, you're so right. In discomfort, there is growth. Through pain, there is growth. And sometimes parts of you or your system need to die and be reborn in order for you to get to the next level. And that is where we're at, I would say, probably not only in the transportation industry, but as a country as a whole, as the world changes, as our paradigm is slightly shifting, because, it's not just business as usual. So I'm so happy to hear that companies like yours are taking that step forward to help push the country forward. So tell us about some of the digital and technical upgrades that Ride Bahamas has achieved.
I will share our most recent achievement. And when I first started looking at what initiatives I wanted to prioritize and bring to the forefront, it became clear that our comfortableness with not accepting different versions of payment would be our downfall if we didn't shift. And so I started campaigning and pushing and helping drivers in the industry to see that creating the ability to be cashless was a huge, a necessary shift, because and for many different reasons, the rest of the world was leaving us behind in that. And the journey was really long. It started with us pointing them in a direction as to how to have the various institutions around the country to provide them with the necessary infrastructure to do it. And then when we came back from COVID-19, I noticed that a lot of my colleagues, including myself, we were literally unhappy with how we were handled with COVID-19 and the cost of our digital infrastructure, that we weren't given the necessary consideration and concessions. We were literally paying for our infrastructure out of our unemployment contributions. And so I thought it was time to find a less expensive and more comfortable way for the industry to be able to do that. And I put my team to work, and in short order, we came up with a product now that we have that allows the drivers to have a device on their phone. And that device allows them to be a part of a platform, BahamasTaxi.com. We give them a profile and also a payment button. And now they're able to take cashless payments in their taxis, but they're also able to receive payments from anywhere in the world. And I think that was one of the biggest transformation we've had right now. We have over 100 drivers on the platform in just over 100 days, and we've moved close to $500,000 across the platform for them. So I think that would be one of our greatest transformation.
I would agree with you. Definitely a jump forward in the way any business conducts its business. I can say that I'm still frustrated when I walk into a medium to large size company and they still only accept cash. So
Yes,
good job on
yes.
that. I'm sure that's definitely reaping the benefits for you and your company. So
Yes,
tell
sir.
us, what support did you receive from the Access Accelerator program?
We are more, I should say, we are a multifaceted company in our approach and what we're trying to do. And one of the products that we offer is we believe that multi-revenue streams is always important in a business. Whether you look at the hotels these days, they're in everything. I mean, they're in whether it's conventions and conference or restaurants, nightclubs, you name it. Even the transportation business, there are a lot of hotels that are now in that. So I felt the same is important for our industry. And one of the products that we've created and piloted in the last 10 years is looking at how smart screens work in vehicles or in public service vehicles. And we have piloted that project. And we also have another version of it, which is we have the mobile media truck, which is a truck that allows you to put smart messages on a smart screen, multi-smart screens on a truck, and move it around the city. And that was one of the projects that the Access Accelerator has been very, very supportive with. They help us land our first digital media truck here sometime in the summer of last year. And we're looking forward as we continue to form the necessary partnerships to continue to bring that to the forefront.
I love the Access Accelerator program, seen so many successful stories. You are also a part of that group.
Yes.
Would you recommend the Access Accelerator to other entrepreneurs?
I have been recommending persons to the Access Accelerator because I think one of the greatest tragedy in the Bahamas, less so now than 5, 10 years ago, is that a lot of entrepreneurs have a vision but don't necessarily understand where to find capital and how to be able to tap into the limited source of capital that exists in the country. So I have been aggressively telling people, helping them with their business plans and making sure that they find a way to be a part of the great movement that the Access Accelerator has created.
That's amazing. You definitely sound like an Access Accelerator ambassador, right?
Thank you.
Enjoying hearing about your business, but in true entrepreneurial style, you're also an author.
Yes,
Tell
sir.
us about your new book, Final Sunset: The Fatal Sinking of the HMBS Flamingo.
Thank you for asking. Very, 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 very passionate about the literary world, but HMBS Flamingos incident being a national one is one of my really I'm really passionate about that, and I thought during COVID-19 that I should venture out into some of the things that were just you have these skills that are sitting around and you haven't really tapped into. And before you know it, I had 3 manuscripts, and my first one of those manuscripts coming to life was Final Sunset, which is very comprehensive, looking at many different aspects of the different areas that affected and played a role in the sinking of the Flamingo. So that book hit the market last week, Monday. We had a launch, and it's now available on Amazon and all of the other various book outlets.
That's amazing. So happy to hear that. Once again, like you said, multiple income streams, using
Yes.
your talent, pushing the envelope, being innovative, all of these wonderful things we talked about this
Yes,
morning.
sir.
I'm going to definitely look out for that book on Amazon. And we're
Thank you,
talking
sir.
to John McPhee, the owner and CEO of Ride Bahamas, talking about revolutionizing the transport industry, but also flexing the entrepreneurial muscles. I would like to
Yes.
thank you for coming on Bahamas Sunrise this morning and sharing your time with us.
Thank you for hosting me. All the best.
Thank you. You're watching Bahamas Sunrise. We'll be right back.